one of the toga party from New Year's
All right,
Eve.
Twyla.
Yes, we are.
That was the coldest New Year's Eve ever.
I'd like to bring this town council meeting for April 5th, 2016 to order, please. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Twyla.
Councilor Albert.
Here.
Councilor Colby. Here. Councilor Ward.
Here.
Councilor McTevier.
Here.
Councilor Bickford.
Here.
Councilor Crafts.
Here.
And Councilor Brunel.
Here.
Next item, Twyla.
Under Good News and Recognition, Order 2016-73, a proclamation for the Lisbon High School Drama Club. Do you have a motion to approve it?
Absolutely.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
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 All in favor?
Order passed 7-0. Would you like me to read it?
Yes.
Okay, the proclamation for the town of Lisbon, whereas the Lisbon High School Drama Club had a very dramatic and successful year. 43 students were involved in the classic production of A Christmas Carol in December, which had 3 sold-out performances. Theater art classes and independent costuming class began working on the one-act production, The Impostors of Scapin, in September. Theater art students had an in-class workshop on Commedia dell'arte to prepare for auditions in this classic Italian acting tradition. After completing a formal analysis of Moliere's original 2-hour play and many hours of research, the 35-minute version was ready to be cast in December. Countless hours were spent in rehearsal, building, painting, and set and creating costumes. Sorry about the mispronunciations. On March 5th, the Lisbon High School Drama Club won the regional competition for the 3rd year in a row and went to the States in Millnocket with the generous support of their community. Regional Festival All-Cast Awards were awarded to Eric Yim, Cody Campbell, Jake Angelico, and Alex Couliard. Special judges' commendations were awarded to Jake Fusario for Dramaturgy, Alyssa Briglio, Charlotte Mooney, and Abby Gamache for costume design. I think it's Takara Kennedy, Noah Watts, Alex Graham, and Sierra Miller for music, and the entire cast and crew for outstanding ensemble. Whereas, on March 21, the Lisbon High School Drama Club placed first out of 10 schools and won the main drama festival state one-act competition for the first time in 20 years. Regional Festival All-Cast Awards were awarded to Eric Yim, Jake Angelico, and Gage Wright. Special judges' commendations were awarded to Jake Fusario for Dramaturgy, Alyssa Briglio, Charlotte Mooney, and Abby Gamache for the costume design. Now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of Lisbon, on the 5th day of April, 2016, would like to congratulate these students for their outstanding achievement. Very well done.
What'd you bring us, Cody?
So, this is our regional one-act trophy. We beat one of the toughest schools in the state for Class B. Yarmouth is a tough school. That was our goal. This is our state competition. This is very important to us because without it, we don't have what we work towards. This is the first time we've ever had it in 20 years. Last time we got it was 1996, so this was such a huge accomplishment to us. We couldn't have it without the community support behind us, and having our own space definitely does help us prepare for what we love to do and what we love to show you guys and what we're working on. So thank you guys very much for your recognition.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-74, a proclamation for the Lisbon High School Unified Basketball.
I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0. And would you like me to read the
Yes.
proclamation? It says, whereas the United Basketball allows high school students with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities the opportunity to represent their high school by participating, experiencing, developing, and training through competition. We have found that the Unified Basketball program has given students an opportunity to make real positive changes in lives of students with and without disabilities. Whereas Lisbon has participated in the Unified program for the past 2 seasons. Both seasons, the team has won the regional championship and made it to the state game, both times coming up short. We have had a total of 13 athletes, 19 partners, and 3 student athlete coaches over the past 2 seasons. This opportunity allows everyone to interact not only on the basketball court, but also within the school environment on a daily basis. Whereas the support within the school and the community has made this a positive event experience for all. Now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of Lisbon, on the 5th day of April, 2016, would like to congratulate these students for their outstanding achievement. Very well done.
Actually, show off the hardware, Brandy.
So this is our regionals plaque that we won when we beat Portland Deering. And I'd just like to say thank you for thanks to the people who what are the words that I'm trying to think of right now? I'd like to thank everybody who signed up for the team this year. We had an amazing season and we went undefeated until we played Hamden in the state game. Just like last year, we lost, you know, and that's not much I can say. They're a good team and they played great, you know. And I also have the jersey that this is the one I wore this past season and last season, and these are what they look like, and they're in reversible. So, I could just, yeah, turn it inside out. So, thank you guys. We're honored, and we had a great season. Let's hope we do next year.
We enjoyed practicing and playing in the new gym, and everybody that came to the town of Lisbon and Lisbon Falls just couldn't get over what a difference, and supported, you know, that the town and the community backed to have a new gym. And I've been in the school system for 36 years, and I was very thankful that I could see that in my teaching career. So thank you very much for supporting the building of the new gym.
Thank you, guys.
Next item, Paula.
Order 2016-75, a proclamation for Josh Houston, Skills USA.
Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Motion passed, 7-0. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Joshua Houston is a junior and son of Michelle and Tim Houston, Josh is enrolled in the Engineering Design Technology program at Lewiston Regional Technical Center. Whereas Joshua received a bronze medal in the Architectural Design Skills USA Main Championship held in Bangor on March 3rd and 4th. In the regional competition held at LRTC during the second week of February, Joshua received a gold medal and invitation to take part in the state championship. Whereas the Skills USA Main Championships is the state-level competition for high school and college students enrolled in trade, technical, and skilled service instructional programs. Now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of Lisbon, on the 5th day of April 2016, would like to congratulate Joshua Houston for his outstanding achievement. Well done.
So basically, at the state competition, I was up against, I think it was 10 seniors, three college students, and I was going into it not thinking much of it because my teacher is actually a mechanical engineering teacher, so she didn't really know much about it in her own. So I had to do a lot of the research on my own. It was really tough, but when I got there, I did the competition. I came out of it like shaking because it was just so nerve-wracking, and it was a really cool environment, but I never thought that I was gonna get third. So when they were calling the names, the first name they called was mine. I was in shock. So, but I just have to thank my teacher for giving me all the time in class and like giving me all the resources I had with the computer programs that I had to learn, and obviously my mom and my dad for just helping me out, like keeping me focused on what I had to do for the competition.
Next item, Twyla.
Is under audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody?
Familiar face.
Cue cards, too.
I think you all know who I am, but I'll state it for the record. I'm Mark Lunt from 192 Ridge Road in Lisbon, or Lisbon Falls, depending on where you want to draw the line. And I'm a former counselor. I'm here to address you tonight on the issue of the Route 9 rezoning. And I think this has been pushed ahead without a lot of thought or talk about it publicly going forward. Certain members of the town council have been pushing to rezone Route 9 to commercial. As a resident of Route 9, I urge the council to take the time to find out the opinions of the residents who live on Route 9 before pushing an agenda that may represent only the opinion of one or two people. There are more than 100 homes along Route 9, and the vast majority have no idea that this discussion is even taking place. Many of these homeowners would be extremely put out to discover that the council wants to allow a used car lot or a gas station to be set up next door. People bought homes on Route 9 for the quiet rural charm, not because they want to live on yet another commercial drag strip. Is the council prepared to compensate Route 9 residents for the loss of value in their homes and when a business comes in that wrecks the neighborhood? Ever since the new exit opened on the interstate, I've heard people in Lisbon talk about new development, but where is it? Sabattis has no zoning in their section of Route 9 at all, and yet the only new business that we've seen develop in there at all is a single used car lot. So where is this mythical development? It should be right out there if it was going to happen, but it hasn't. The kind of businesses that we would expect on Route 9 are used car lots and things like that of that nature that don't bring a lot of value, don't create jobs, and actually lower the land value of people next door because no one wants to have a house next to a used car lot. And that's what we would expect is the best outcome of changing this. Commercial development along Route 9 is not the cure for Lisbon's problems. It's just one more problem in our bucket of problems. We've had enough fatal accidents on Route 9 over the years without people trying to pull out of a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot in the middle of a bad corner. So far, all the solutions I've heard on this issue are unworkable and probably illegal. Your own staff would tell you that if they weren't so afraid of you. Zoning is important because it reassures property owners that their abutters won't put up something that ruins their property value. A complaint that I've heard from several people who live in Sabattis who said, I bought a nice home out in Sabattis and somebody came along and put up something right next door that ruined my values and made me want to move somewhere where they have zoning that'll protect me. The council's actions on Route 9 undermine that trust. Not just on Route 9, but everywhere in Lisbon, because if it can happen on Route 9, it could happen to anyone in Lisbon. Anyone can have to now say, my zoning isn't really permanent, it can just change overnight on a whim of the council. I urge the council to take a measured approach and don't put the cart before the horse by forcing the planning board to push an agenda for Route 9 that its residents do not want. If the problem here is a problem of one citizen who wants to sell a used car or two, I urge you to find a lighter, less disruptive solution within the existing home occupation ordinance. There's no need to suddenly go demolishing all the existing ordinances and zoning when we already have tools that can be tweaked there if that's the issue. Thank you for paying attention to the desires of the people who actually live on Route 9. We'll be watching.
Thank you, Mark. Next item. Oh, is there anybody else? Okay. Next item, Flower.
Next item is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Seeing none. Order 2016-76 to approve the regular meeting minutes of March 15, March 22, and March 29, and the workshop minutes for March 29.
Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item.
Under council orders, resolutions, and ordinances, Order 2016-77, the phone system contract and network hardware.
Good evening, everyone. At our workshop meeting last Tuesday, we discussed a little bit detail the phone system transition and then the need to update the firewall and switches at all our buildings. And based on the outcome of that budget discussion, we did finalize our research and put together what we feel is a reasonable approach for moving forward with the transition to Oxford Networks and their voice over internet phone system, as well as the hardware upgrades that we would recommend that we make right here at the town office first and then move forward. Happy to go over what we have for information here if there's any questions. I did want to lay out that after we submitted the information for the agenda, we have sent out the proposal that we received. I basically took the hardware that we were to purchase and have sent that out to get some competitive bids as well, just to see where they fall in relation to what we got from SimQuest. And then I guess that would be maybe putting the cart before the horse here, but that would be our request, is that we would request permission to award based on the best value after we receive some of those additional bids.
I had a few. Just
Sure.
the contract you put out there, does that include all hardware for the phone system too?
The
Just
Oxford
right-
Networks proposal? Yes, the hardware is basically the phones,
Okay.
and that's the per unit cost. I think I mentioned in the memo that the total dollar amount on their proposal is slightly different than what I come up with my tally when I went through the phone
Right.
numbers again. And after they come out with their engineers, it may vary a little bit even more, but that's the gist of it was that it was a multi-year contract, and Diane needed permission to
Right.
be able to do that.
Software and licensing is separate from this hardware quote, correct?
I don't believe there is any. Are you talking about for?
For voice over IP
SimQuest?
phones, there will be licensing.
It should be one contract. That's why I was
Should
asking.
be.
That's why I was
Yeah.
asking.
I believe it is. I mean, they offer. Everything is spelled out in here as far as direct inward dial, and then the unlimited long distance. I'm assuming it's all.
Yeah.
That was my impression.
I'm sure we'd invest.
It's a little bit different than the way that I saw it in Lewiston. Is Lewiston bought the hardware and we contracted for the pricing. That's why I was asking that same question, or just for that.
It's all good. So I want to make sure that we're seeing that.
No,
Yeah.
that was the same angle I was pursuing.
Thank you.
Anything in the 36-month contract that you might want to highlight?
I'll be honest. I didn't read the nitty-gritty.
Nitty-gritties? Okay,
Okay.
there's later, all you're looking for tonight is to actually move forward with the topic anyway, so you'll
Correct.
flesh those details out at a later
We're just
date?
we're just at this point where you get
Okay.
competitive bidding, right?
For the Oxford Networks, no. The Oxford Networks would be, we already utilize them for our phone service and internet
Right.
provider. And they're the only ones that we're talking to as far as providing us with the voice over internet solution. The hardware from SimQuest that we need to install here to be able to make those phones work across the network is the one that we are getting some additional pricing on.
Is there any other service provider that we could go through other than Oxford Networks?
I'm sure Time Warner does, but the reason we went with Oxford Networks is because they offered fiber to the premises, which is what we've been transitioning to. And in some instances, it may be our only option for, I want to say, the treatment plant. Oxford extended service to that location free of charge at the time, where some of the other providers weren't as generous.
So I assume that when we take on more of their services, they're more inclined to give us better pricing too, as well.
Well, they're a limit. I mean, this is basically our phone system service moving forward, because right now we pay a monthly fee for our current dial lines, if you will.
Right.
Actually,
POTS lines, I guess.
the way that I've seen that enact, they come in with pricing not to get it, it's to actually maintain it.
Right.
I've never seen an increase in Oxford in the amount of time that Lewison's had it in that regard, because they truly want the business partnership associated with it. I mean, because it's a win-win in their regards too, is because they're trying to connect the network between Lewiston and Brunswick.
Right.
You know, so that's where their money is at this point, so we're right smack in the middle to be able to get the benefit associated with that.
Is it Oxford Networks contract that you said you hadn't had a chance to read?
I hadn't read the fine print in the contract, no, I'll be
Right.
honest.
I see no issue prohibiting us from moving forward with what we talked about at the workshop in that regard, because it allows Ryan to move forward into some of the specifics of the contract to bring us up to speed at a later date, plus get a handle on, with the engineer, what they have for capabilities to reduce some of the redundancies and additional lines to have additional savings down the line.
And we're not voice over IP right now, if I understand that right, with PBX?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, so copper wire.
Yeah, POTS.
Yeah, exactly. So the good news there too, this does offer us some additional disaster recovery pieces that we don't have, I'm sure, right now from that component.
We have a fairly redundant system right now in terms of a backup and everything else, but the other benefits to it being hosted someplace else, when I started reading off the lists, especially to Jody and Twyla, and then to have to answer the phone on a regular basis, and then being able to have direct dial lines to the phones for some of the remote locations will make some of the complaints that we receive in terms of people having a hard time getting a hold of someone go away, hopefully.
I guess, and I can certainly understand what you're saying. I'm looking at it more of if, God forbid, a tornado came along and lifted this building off and away it went, we could still route every line to an alternate location and have a temporary town office, if you will, active and going with those lines routed there. So I guess
forward.
that's the perk of more so. Okay, that's great. That's going to be fun.
That direct function right there is the call forwarding could be centered to the EMA or wherever we chose to.
Right.
To be able to have that disaster recovery, and you would have the appearance of business as usual.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think as far as the contract goes, we'd like to treat it just like what we did with the computer contract, as you allow us to move forward
Yep.
with this, and we'll work out the details if there are any issues with the contract, which is what we did with Munis.
I just want to make sure that we're aware before we're signing anything that we
Yes.
can't get out of.
Yep.
Want a motion?
I make that motion. Absolutely. Proceed.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-78, paving request for proposals.
Again, as a follow-up, we had a nice meeting last workshop. As I mentioned at the workshop, I'm trying to get a feel for, and I know the budget hasn't been finalized or any of that, but trying to get a feel for what the dollar amount may be moving forward with paving. Because I'd like to put out the paving RFP as soon as possible so we can get people on board when the budget's approved and then as soon as July 1 hits. And so that's why I'm here, is to formally ask request to put out a paving RFP, and my approach would be to put it out with quantities based on a $425,000 budget, if that's the pleasure of the board. With big, bold letters saying pending
Yeah, right.
final budget adoption.
Right.
For the extended audience that wasn't there at the workshop, maybe could you just go through the list, Ryan?
Yep. As I said at the workshop, we're at a point now where I could probably put 3 or 4 times as many streets on the first year's paving list, and any one of them would be a priority. What I did was I tried to take the anticipated budget of 425, which is really 415 for roads and then another 10 for the transfer station, and look at our previous list that we've had ongoing, as well as trying to pick some roads that may be adjacent to some of the priority roads that we were looking at. So the initial list, subject to change, all those caveats. We were looking at Amalfi Drive, Memorial Street, Birch Street, Crest Avenue, and I'll lump Gartley Street and Crest Avenue at the same time because they're right across the street from each other, which is why we added Gartley Street. We've got Moody Road and Gayton Road, same deal. A couple roads that are right adjacent to each other. Houston Street is a main entrance into the Houston Park area. And then Farwell Street's been a road that's been on the list for quite some time. And like I said before, I mean, this is my best stab at creating a paving list based on, you know, the information that we have available to us, and I'm sure that someone else could come up with a different list, but this is my,
It's a list.
This is my recommendation.
It's a list on the number one topic you're hearing.
And this is the, Crest Avenue is the one that, I mean, I've got budget folder, I've got a petition that was sent in, and you know, we've been to a lot of these places on a regular basis. The one thing I will mention, because there's 3 roads that aren't on this list that are priority roads as well, and it's Bodenham Road, which is a disaster, Summer Street and Gould Road are all ones that have been on the front of the stove for a while. The recommendation that we had made, talking with Diane and Ed, is those roads should probably be moved forward to a bond in November for more of a reconstruction type of effort, and strictly based on the size of them. To do all of Bodenham Road, our estimates just to reclaim it and pave it was right around $650,000. So this list was contingent on those other 3 roads going to a referendum in the fall. So I don't want people to think that we left anything off that we should have, because we are aware that especially Bodenham Road is one that's been on the list for a long time, but it just, at some point, it didn't make sense to put paving money, you know, a Band-Aid on something of that significance, additional work that it really needs. So with that said, I guess this is the kind of our working draft for where we'd like to move forward and see what we get for bids, and then go from there.
Need a motion?
Make a motion that we move forward with it.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-79, a request to complete projects.
To get everything done all at once. Based on, again, the input at the council workshop last week, we are requesting permission to go out to bid, or to purchase, I'm not going to say go out to bid, to purchase a used chipper. Was an item that we put in this upcoming year's budget, and based on some of our savings and specifically Winter Public Works, we'd like to move forward based on recommendations from council with trying to take some of the items that are in next year's budget and get them taken care of right now. The used chipper is the first one. We also like to spend approximately $20,000 to pre-purchase culverts for the road work we anticipate doing this summer. Ground speed controls were the other item that was in next year's Winter Public Works budget, and that would be, I don't honestly have prices on that yet because some of this has happened a lot faster than I anticipated, but we're in process of getting prices to retrofit our current trucks with the ground speed controls for winter operations, which control the application of salt and liquid de-icing materials, and basically ties it to the speed of the truck. So when the truck comes to a stop at the stop sign, it isn't on the driver to turn this off, turn that off, you know, and all that. It's automatically taken care of, which will help us in the long run once trucks are properly calibrated, that the guys can just focus on plowing, and the salt and liquid aspect of it will be handled by a computer.
3 sets?
Looking at 3, what was it? 1, 2, 3. Yes,
And the
3, because the
potential
new one
is-
will be on the cabin chassis approved. That one will receive a new one when we, as part of that. Right. Right.
When do we expect to get the pricing?
I contacted I'm quite honestly dealing directly with Viking, right in Lewiston. They're the ones that set up the Peterbilt, the truck that we just bought, and it's the same system. I'd like to have the same system across the board. That gentleman got back to me at the end of last week, and we're supposed to try to catch up in the next week or 2.
But that would have to come here just for a vote for a purchase anyways? How does that work?
Each unit, I guess, maybe.
Well,
It
wait,
doesn't matter either.
well, I guess it'll depend on the amount, but is it if you're gonna wanna go through Viking, it wouldn't necessarily have to come back, as long as, we wouldn't purchase it unless we knew we had funds in the existing
Right.
budget to do
Okay.
it.
Was that where you were going
Yeah.
with the question?
Right.
I just wanted to make
That's the
sure.
only reason I asked.
Yeah.
My goal at this point would be to purchase it from Viking, just
Right.
because it's the same.
They set it up, associated with that.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's part of it. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know what the cost is gonna be for them to retrofit.
But that caveat's in the
Yeah,
purchasing
But we may not
policy
be
now.
able to, depending on what the price is,
Right.
but.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
That
no
caveat's
ballpark.
in the purchasing policy now,
Guess
to be able to
my
give him
guess
that
was originally
discretion
in the
too.
$3,000 to
Right.
$5,000 range per
Per-
unit.
What?
So
per
it's
unit.
gonna be in, I mean, the total project may be up to 15, so I mean, that
Right.
was. But each individual unit would be below the
Right,
Threshold.
exactly.
Right.
So, the last one, I guess the timing couldn't have been any better. The contractor had started doing the brickwork in the rear corner of the library on the fire department side, is the corner where all the water's been running off the roof for a long time. He started in, fixing that corner, and it's to the point where the entire corner really needs to be torn all the way down to the bottom and then rebuilt back up. They can do that right away while they're still here. And the cost was right around $8,000, and it's for two items actually. I don't think I included the bid. But $8,050 to address the northwest corner. It also addresses the front of the building in between the windows. There's like a stucco or whatever you want to call it that's around that.
Right.
The proposal included removing that and then watertight ceiling around those windows, and then putting something back that's similar in look. I believe the rear corner itself was closer to between 5,000 and 6,000, and then that front part was the remainder of that amount. In addition, at the same time, they're, and I don't know if they'll pull it off while they're there, but the fascia around the roof line was an item that we discussed with the library, and then had put in the buildings budget, and we'd like to get it all done right now. We'd had a price or a quote on that, and it was right around $3,500. It'd be the same deal. I'd more than likely try to get an additional quote just to compare to, but we have a firm price at this point.
I guess my question now is, with the additional hit, do we still have the room to be able to do that through the city hall, the town hall budget? I know we asked the same question at the workshop of Ed. Do we have the funding to be able to try to make that initiative before the end of the year?
My guess is not through the buildings budget,
But through the,
but through the cooperative
but between the
savings.
three?
Yeah, through the
Right.
other budgets, I believe
Okay.
there is enough to cover that, but, I mean, it would.
That's why we need
happen.
to come and have permission tonight, because at some point, we'll be coming back so that you can transfer funds
Yeah,
from
right,
one to
that
another.
was my next question,
But
is
we
it
didn't
budget
wanna go
transfers to make all of
right.
this work anyways?
But, here it is April, and we want to get this stuff done before this budget ends.
No, it's,
so.
once we open up the other three, I'm completely on board, because anything that can be done this year, saving in next year's budget is my intention associated with that.
It's everyone's, yeah.
And to be honest with you, at this point, the library would be my priority out of everything
Right.
even on
That's-
here. Just because they're already there, it's gonna cost us to have them mobilized.
Come back
to
and
the
do it
site,
again.
so-
Yeah, if they're there and
We're
set
gonna-
up, might as well get it done.
And they can get it done right away.
If you approve all of this, we'll do what we can within the constraints of our budget and what we think
Yep.
we may have left
Yep.
over.
Yep. And
It may be coming from different pots, like,
But
you
to
know,
ma- to
his
make it work for what
winter
the intent-
public works,
right.
because we had a pretty decent winter. And
Right.
then we've got some in the public works regular budget too, because we have a position that we haven't filled, so
Right.
there's some flexibility there, so.
for the benefit of
But
our
to
extended
say it will
audience,
all come
I'll
from
let
the
know that
town
anyways.
budget, town buildings budget, I don't believe there may
Right,
be
that's what
some there,
I
but.
clearly heard that from Ed last week. is
Right.
The fact is, keeping people understanding is we're impacting all three departments to make this work.
Exactly.
And one of the things that we need to verify before, when we're looking at the dollars anyway, is that there is a carry forward line is where the primary source of the funding for the library work was coming
Right.
out of to begin with, so.
Right.
I gotta see how that all balances out with
Yeah.
what we have in this year's budget. And to be honest with you, the money that we ended up saving by allowing them to postpone the contract until the spring is almost the same amount as what they needed to do the
Right,
corner,
right, right,
so,
right,
I mean,
right.
it's kind of worked out well.
I'll make that recommendation since how I put him on all these side trips.
Second. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, Paula.
Order 2016-80, the sewer studies.
The last item I had this evening was the, as we discussed at the workshop, the water department has, would like to discharge, we'll just call it flow to the treatment plant. That's not normal sewer flow. And it's associated with their filter operation. We'd received that material back when the plant had opened up, when the filter plant had gone online on Moody Road, and had a negative impact on the wastewater treatment operation. Since then, the filter plant operation is different. The sewer wastewater treatment plant operation is different based on industries going away and basically just our flows being completely different than they were 10 years ago. In the same time the water department had come to us with this request, we'd had some other requests just from the general commercial industry and with unique waste flows that, and wanted to know if we could handle it or whatnot. What we don't have right now is a good, I'm going to just call it a pie of what we can take for wastewater from these various different components in the community and still be able to meet our effluent limitations with our permit. So we wanted to do what we've called as a local limit study, which would help us determine what characteristics we can take from the various industries that currently discharge and then would in the future may discharge. And at the same time, we wanted to discuss, or we wanted to look at our rate structure, because we really don't have much of a variable rate structure. It's pretty much you're either on sewer or you're not, pretty much, because there's no difference between a business or a residence and whatnot. So we kind of lumped in, there's 3 or 4 different classifications of studies, but the sewer rate study, an ordinance review, and then the local limit study, which totaled right around $20,500. And then Oliver Associates had recommended that we also carry a $5,000 lab testing placeholder, more of a contingency amount for those studies based on us sending samples to outside labs to get back whatever we need. So at this point in the current sewer department budget, can afford to do these studies now, and so we can have some answers, so we can hopefully get the water department on board when they'd like to in July or August timeframe. And we're still waiting for our sewer system evaluation to be completed, so we haven't spent some of the funds that we'd kind of temporarily budgeted in case, depending on what the results of that sewer system evaluation were, if there was projects that we needed to complete. So at this point, we'd like to do another study or 3 and then figure out where we're going from there.
Ryan, now, if you do take the water department's water, they will be paying you to do that.
Yeah, they'll be charged a fee.
Right.
But that's part of why we'd like to do the rate study, is
Right.
to help, determine what a fee should be. And the same deal, I mean, we had a business move in on Capitol Avenue. It's something none of us had to deal with before, and not knowing what to do with that waste stream. I mean, they're only charged for whatever the water is, whatever their water usage is.
Right.
I mean, there's no consideration given to what the levels of their wastewater are, or the strength of the wastewater that they're sending to us is. And that's one of the things that and even as part of our permit, we have to get a better handle on industrial discharges.
Yep.
But there's no way to, at this point, to charge different. So the ordinance review is something that's kind of timely. We haven't done one in as long as I've been here. And with the transition to a council form of government, and as Diane's been dealing with some issues in terms of lien process and that sort of aspect to it, that kind of it's time to clean that part of it up as well.
Again, the intention is to actually pay for it this year without actually putting it on next year's tax burden. I'm for it.
Well, the sewer is its own fund.
Agreed, but it's,
You guys will,
yeah, they're
our
counting.
revenues are strong.
Right.
Yeah,
It's coming out of this year's operation budget.
right. Yes.
Now, if this is a request by the water department, and we don't know if we can accept it, are they paying any of these fees for any of these studies?
This doesn't include the portion of the study. There's an additional $4,500 associated with that component.
Okay. So they are paying something.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, they're paying their portion, which is $4,500.
Okay.
We had them originally submit us a proposal that broke it down. If we did the local limit study, it was 10.5. If the water department did their part at the same time, and that was the thing,
Yeah.
it had to be done at the same time. It'd be $4,500 for the water department. If we didn't do the local limit study, then it would be more like $7,500 just to study the water department request. So it just made sense to do everything at once.
I need a motion.
Yep.
Second, I need a second. Second. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-81, Route 9 zoning change.
I'm going to speak to this. We had a 7-0 consensus, but we didn't take it to a vote, and that wasn't good enough for the planning board. So we did have comment on it, and I can't see whether there's anybody cramming it down anybody's throat. Everybody here saw the person came up, legitimately asked, and I think we're just following through. And as far as not being notified, there's gonna be letters sent out to every, Alan, there's gonna be letters sent out to every household on
Every
Route 9.
person on Route 9.
And we're gonna have public meeting workshops. There's gonna be a lot of notification. It's just that I would like to see this done, because for the past 5 years that I've been on the council, it seems like there's always been somebody's trying to sneak something in. And this, we'll put a stop to it. And I've already checked with, not codes, but, the tax assessor, and even if it was all commercialized, the residents would not be affected that were not commercial. They would stay the same. It's the same thing on Route 9 right now. 196 right now.
Their valuation wouldn't change, their
The
tax.
valuation wouldn't change.
If they
But
chose
if
not
they
to.
went to sell that
Right.
if they went to sell their property, it would be worth more because it was commercial property.
Right.
But,
What I would encourage, Mark, on that topic, the workshop is there to vet this process. In that regard, I would encourage anybody that has a vested interest in that to show up to this workshop to actually state their opinion, because hearing the two discussions that it's actually played out at the planning board meetings, their concern is they don't want to get 50% one way and 50% the other way and actually get no clear consensus for direction. That is where it's actually going to die. One of the comments that was made associated that you're on the home occupancy, or what's the term? Home occupation classification, exploring that option as well too. That all of it is in there because they don't have a direction, so they're just looking to vet the process, is my understanding. Yes, sir.
Please. Yes, you can.
Just as a point of clarification, this is not good enough for the planning board.
I am sorry.
I want to be clear here.
We're gonna make it a
The
regular vote.
the ways to amend Chapter 70, which is the zoning ordinance, can either come from the planning board by vote to consider a matter. It can come from the council or it can come by petition from any citizens. And all we on the planning board have said is, we didn't vote this in. The council wants to do this, so that's why we're asking for the.
Right. We understand that, Don.
Our straw poll to actually put it in motion was not a clear direction, absolutely. I make the motion to at least put it to official vote for them to proceed with the process that we have in motion at this point.
Second. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0. I'm still writing.
No, Cassie didn't.
Hey,
Oh,
Cassie
did you
didn't
not?
raise her hand.
Okay, so it's 6 and 1. 6-1. All right, thanks.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-82, amend 86-6 town disbursement warrant policy.
The next three orders on the agenda are all intertwined. So the 86.6 town disbursement warrant policy, in this policy, it allows for the chair of the council to designate one or more municipal officers to sign employee wages and benefits. This has to be done annually, and we did it last year for the town warrants, but what we didn't do was for the school side. So that's what we've proposed to amend here, is to add employee wages and benefits also for the school warrants. So later on the agenda, you'll see where the chair is going to designate one or more municipal officers to sign those warrants. As it stands right now, we have to have 4 councilors sign the school warrants. We only have 1 on the payroll warrants on the town side. So that's the only change in this policy, is to add for the school. The next one is an internal control policy. And for consistency throughout our other policies, currently the superintendent signs the warrant along with the majority of the school committee. We didn't have that in a policy, so all we're doing is adding the superintendent. And that's what he's currently doing, just to make them consistent. So those are the 2 policy changes under those 2 orders. And then the next one, to designate municipal officers, that's when the council chair will designate those. So our recommendation is to amend 86.6 town disbursement warrant policy and 8681 internal control policy, as presented.
Any objections?
I got no issues with that.
The motion that we accept.
Second.
Yeah, I second.
Second. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-83 to amend 86-81. You just took that up, the internal
Yep.
control policy. So we will go to order 2016-84, designate municipal officers.
And,
You're up, chief.
no, I gotta make the motion.
Hey,
and
no,
then,
you're up, chief.
I need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed,
Now,
7-0.
now I'll do my part.
You see, you're up, chief.
I'd like to designate Chris Brunel and Cassie Colby. And I will be where Chris has to do, once in a while, there'll be a water department. I will be the alternate for that. Or I'll be an alternate. So, either one. Because you're around all the time. You're basically around all the time. And I'm going back to Napa all the time, so it's not a major problem to me. So. And he followed me up there today.
That's good. It gets us through the hurdle that we were looking for.
The school department still has to have a majority on their warrants.
Yeah.
Because that's state statute.
And you do as well on your accounts payable.
Right.
It's just on the school wages and
Right.
benefits disbursements that you can allow one.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-85, the fire department car 1 bid award.
As you have your package in front of you, we did put out, as we were approved to go out for solicit RFPs for the Car One proposed purchase. We received those. Those went out. Packets went out. I sent them out to 5 different. I talked to 6, sent to 5, and received 3. So those packages are in front of you as they stand, and 2 of them meet the specs required by the department, and 1 was a leftover 2015 vehicle. We had asked for 2016 vehicles, so, but 1 was a leftover. We did put it in there just for the fact, and that actually came in second. It didn't come in first. So the first one was the lowest was Row Auburn for $23,668, and then Westcasset Ford for the 2015 was $25,900, and then Quirk came in at $27,200. Those were all reflective of the trade-ins. Row gave us a better trade-in. I think that probably helped him in the. So I would recommend that the council award the bid to Row Ford. It's in stock and ready to be delivered, and he talked to me today and was ready to do it Thursday if we can. So if it's approved by council, of course, this evening.
I need a motion to accept.
I'll make the motion.
A second?
I'll second.
Now discussion.
Status of car 2?
Car 4.
4.
Car 4, we're still looking. Surplus is basically out of, can we talk about, it's not on the agenda, so we can't talk about it. Okay. Car 4, we've been looking at surplus. Nothing's been fitting in that. Mostly very rough vehicles in that aspect. Looking used, we're finding some good used vehicles, finding even some better used vehicles than what I was finding. I went in that 5-year range, and we were getting vehicles that were loaded to the hilt, like we had talked about a little bit before, that were the higher price. And then with that discussion would have been if they're going to be that high price, we're so close to buying a new one, what investment factor do you want to go? We have found some 8-year-old, 5 to 8 years old that are in a price range about 25 or 20,000, 18 to 25,000, I guess I would say. We found one in Bangor right now that I haven't researched as of yet, just because of everything that I have going on right now. But with that, if it's possible, and I don't know if it could be, but if it's possible, we want to go down that route, can you guys, as the council, you people as the council, be able to actually just top end saying not to exceed 23,000, 25,000 used, so that it gives the town manager and I some leeway there as if a used vehicle, that if we do find one that fits and it's a viable option for us, that we could actually purchase it without having to come through. Not that we're superseding the process, it's just that the time frame of if we find one tomorrow is another 2 weeks, and that vehicle, without putting a deposit on it, could be sold out from under us. So
What was the budget that we set?
it wasn't. It was.
On that one was open-ended.
Yeah, the secondary
just-
vehicle is my
he
understanding.
left it very gray, just going, find surplus, find used. If you don't find used,
I
buy
think-
new. And
No,
that
no,
was-
I'm saying in the account itself, what was our
Oh.
max limit that we were looking to spend on both?
Well, I don't think we determined
We
that.
didn't.
Didn't do,
we didn't
okay,
determine
I couldn't remember.
So I guess from me, I was wondering, the Car 4 was more of a secondary vehicle to be
Yes.
used for running for the Portland Water.
Duty officer,
Exactly.
per diems, pickup truck, utility pickup truck.
And when I hear like 18 to 23, that seems strong. We're coming in close to new prices, and it goes back to that talk about whether or not we want
But that's a 3/4 ton. That was
Yeah.
the other part of that. That's a 3/4 ton vehicle. Now, when we get into, I've checked all the dealerships, all the major dealerships here in town. Everything's loaded. We can get a brand new, or we can get a 2-year-old vehicle that has a little bit higher mileage on it, 3/4 ton. That's 30,000. I got a quote for a new one for 34,800. So there you're having investment with used. Of course, we don't know how long it's going to last, but could last us the full 15 years. We don't know that. New could last us 12 years. We don't know that either. But you have the warranties that go along with that the first amount of time that you're going to be using is going to be warranty work throughout that. So I guess the life of the investment is my question to the council. Is do we want to go in the $20,000 range used, with the possibility of what we're looking for is a 3/4 ton work truck? So what you're getting may be a 3/4 ton work truck that's actually been worked. Correct. And then we may be standing here in another 7 years going, guess what? Or go that next pay scale.
You do have the money for
Or
this, right?
This all falls under the truck replacement program,
Right.
yes. So it has no impact on taxes. Correct. It all falls into the truck replacement program.
This year.
Now, when you say
This
you-
year. The fact is, there's only so much in that fund too, so
And
eventually we're
it's-
gonna.
And it still
Right.
leaves us
Currently.
plenty of
Okay.
money for investment. that
Yeah, yeah.
we-
Right,
we
right,
talked
right.
about, yes.
Now, when you're saying used, you're not, you talk about a year old probably.
That 25,000 to 30 or higher range has been anywhere from 5 to 4 years to 1 year old. Yeah.
You do know that most of the lots around here with the 1 or 2 years, the things got everything.
Right. Loaded to the hilt.
Yeah, 'cause he got the
when
money.
you,
Yeah.
when you went
Guy
to
that's got
surplus,
this
there was
money
just
bought
nothing
the
meeting the
new one.
criteria.
Surplus, unfortunately, is most of the stuff that's on the surplus list in any of that 3/4 utility range is non-stickerable. You have to
Yeah,
put work
chewed
into
up pretty hard,
it
huh?
in order to be able to.
We, we did find one over in Bangor that was, I can't remember, was it a 2011?
It's a 2011
Very low mileage.
for
Ver-
21,
No, I thought it was under 18, wasn't it?
18.
I think it was,
So there's one that we might,
See, yeah, that's appealing.
Yeah,
no, but I mean, yeah, and it was
On the
priced
surface.
like 10,000.
Well, yeah, exactly.
On the
Again,
surface, what the
Below
hell
what it should
happened
be
to it?
priced at.
Yeah,
It was a
Only been
very
one
good
rollover.
deal.
right.
He steps up. How many miles did you put on that in a year?
on car 4, minimal. There's Hot Wheels, my vehicle that we're getting rid of had 56,000 on it.
Right.
In 10 years.
Right.
So, and that one,
Used may not be a bad way to go.
No.
You're not putting a lot of
Right.
As long as it hasn't been rolled over, as Alan said, maybe that ain't a bad avenue
I
to
mean, we would,
explore.
before we
I
would do
would be
anything, we
comfortable
would
putting
check
in the
it
20
and-
grand out there as long as it's actually a reasonable
Right.
in that regard. Because the second piece that I would say is,
I would go all
obviously we
already.
want to go with something that's we're going to invest in the maintenance part of it so we can get the life that we're looking for out of it.
And what was the one that you saw in Bangor?
That was a
Make.
18,000.
It was a
Ford,
Ford,
it's an F-250.
Well,
F-250.
that's, I'm kinda going that way now because.
Because we already
most-
have a
most-
fleet of them in public works.
We already have a fleet of them and they're
Right.
fairly interchangeable in parts.
For the most part, that's the make and model that I was looking at for that reason.
Right.
It helps with garage for specialization, it just all the way around.
Ford's gave me a
everything-
price on
it's-
all the way
a
around.
Chevy.
You know, it's,
When you go with a
And if-
low-cost bid and you start cherry picking, you get the manufacturing mix, it actually causes you more headache trying to maintain the fleet.
If that's something we, if you allow us to do that, then what we would probably want to do if that vehicle's still there is have one of the mechanics
Check it.
go over
Oh,
and check
heck
it
yeah.
out at the same time. That's typical, and
Yep.
So circling back around to your original request, kind of put a cap on it. I heard you say 20,000. I think that's reasonable if we're all agreeing. 20,000 seems reasonable for a used vehicle.
you want to finish up with the motion that's on the
Yeah,
floor and then
absolutely.
make another one for us, just for the record.
I would make the recommendation to award the bid to Row Auburn as indicated.
Need a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Please.
Order passed 7-0.
Now I'd like to have a motion on car 4.
I'll make that motion.
I need a second.
Second.
What is this motion?
I'm sorry.
20,000.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna make the motion to cap the car 4 used at $20,000.
Guess that,
Contingency on whether you find something or not. There's still always the option to go with something new.
Right.
And again, if you're gonna buy something a couple of years old that's loaded, why don't you spend a couple extra $1,000 and get one that's not loaded with all the stuff that you do need and all the stuff that you don't need?
Longevity.
You know what I mean? If you go for a new one, if you can't get a used one, it doesn't need to be loaded like some of these in the neighborhood. that
Well,
you've
I
been
don't
looking
want
at.
to, with the last time I was standing in front of you, when.
Yeah, no,
when,
go back.
The council chair gave me like 4 different options all in one statement.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And after talking about it with the town manager, I wasn't about to make that decision that goes, oh, this is what I want to do. So
You know,
that's why I wanted some clarification.
with this stuff and me, it's like financing is an ed. I can whip it all out in 4 or
Right,
5.
right. And I understand
Nothing,
that,
you know, I understand it very well.
Right. So I'm great with shopping for that, for what you guys just voted on. And if I come up short in the next, 3 weeks to be able to come back to you and go, here's what we found. That one was either the mechanic said no on it,
Or
and
it's
come back
gone.
and go,
Okay,
what's our next option? So,
all in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-86, to set the date for the school budget validation referendum for June 14.
Guess I need a motion.
It was all spelled out in what we got in the packet, so I'm cool with that. I'll make that motion.
Okay, need a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, please.
Order 2016-87, to set the date for the public hearing for the 2016-17 school budget.
Has that date been given to the superintendent in the school department?
Yeah, and the Lisbon Community School cafeteria has been
So
reserved.
everything's,
Excellent.
It
yeah.
is available.
Let's move forward with that. I make that recommendation to.
Need a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0. I'll let the school committee know, the school board.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-88, the cooperative service agreement with the Department of Agriculture.
That's Mark.
Yeah, I want to hear him. Tell us about the dead geese.
Assume you saw the contract that we put, state put together. What we're asking permission is to eradicate, have the state eradicate two problems we have on Beaver Park. We have two geese, Canadian geese, have been coming back for the last 3 or 4 years, having young and destroying our beaches. If they would stay on the first pond, but they don't listen. They go to second and third.
They don't
pond,
listen.
Have a big problem.
You coming forward with our kids next? Where are we going with this?
Well, it's a health
It
and
is.
safety issue.
Okay.
Right.
And we'd like to do it as soon as possible, because if we wait when they have the young, then
Yep.
it's a little bit more involved.
So how are you gonna do this?
Euthanization.
Seriously.
There's no such thing as, the state doesn't relocate Canadian geese anymore.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, I know it.
Do you
I
want
know
to
what it's
bring them
all
to your
about.
house, Cassie?
Yes, I will take them. I
Re-
cannot
rescue?
vote to euthanize something.
The thing is, they're they won't stay at your place. They'll go back to Beaver
Yeah,
Park.
I know.
They have very good GPS.
Well, they taste good at your Thanksgiving table.
That's horrible.
No, I've heard that. I've heard that to be the very opposite. That they are not a bird anybody wants to
Yeah,
eat.
yeah.
You better
That's what
hope.
I've heard.
You better hope my children are not listening to this.
Kids go to bed. We're voting.
Yeah.
We're voting.
The bird shot ready.
Ready?
Oh.
Need a motion?
To authorize me to sign the contract.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Not really.
Okay, it's 7-0 though? Order
Mom, why'd you kill the birds?
That's what I'm gonna hear.
Next item, please, Twyla.
Under other business, town manager's report.
The only thing I just want to say tonight is I want to commend the police department and the fire department. They've had some unusual circumstances in the past week that they've had to deal with, and they have just done an outstanding job doing their jobs. They do it well. They do it with compassion, and sometimes it's not easy what they do, some of the things that they have to deal with. But I just want to commend both departments for their outstanding work here in this community.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Next item, Twyla.
Department head report, Dennis Douglas.
Hey, Council. This is a report from February, so I couldn't make that meeting when I was on the agenda, so apologize for being 2 months late, but I'll cap it off with some up-to-date stuff, maybe make that a little bit better. So you all got the report, the paper report, so pretty simple. 3 building permits issued in the month of February, 1 new construction, 1 very large garage, and a nice apartment remodel. Electrical permits, pretty much backing those up, pulling the same permits. We had 5 of those. 7 plumbing permits, 3 of them for the new homes, 2 mobile home hookups, 3 remodels, and a new septic, and a couple miscellaneous permits. Planning board update, just because I can staff that one as well. Just continuing the work on the zoning issues along Route 196 corridor, which we have the workshop, a hearing on Thursday night for the 196. Some people are getting it mixed up because they're hearing about Route 9. This is just 196 on Thursday night. Let's see, in February, we were continuing the property management ordinance, which that's done and finished and off at this point. I think it's in your hands now, right? If I remember right?
It's on the way.
It's on the way. We approved a 5-lot subdivision on Mill Street. Started the process of comprehensive plan revisions to go along with the zoning stuff that we're working on. And we just started at that point the discussions on the Route 9, looking at Route 9 rezoning. So that was February. Appeals didn't have anything to report. Health officer, landlord tenant stuff. Actually dealing with a number of issues at Woodside Apartments right now. That's been the predominant one. Committees that I'm on, we have the 196 steering committee that's been working on the business facade program, which got submitted, so that portion's done, and continued efforts on redevelopment. Wrapped up the firing range committee. That has been off to the town attorney, waiting for his review of the ordinance that we put together for that. Once we get it, that is a Chapter 70 zoning ordinance, which means that's go to planning board for Chapter 70. So once we get it back from the attorney, we'll submit it to the planning board. They can look it over if everything's good. We did have 2 members of the planning board on the committee, so it should be pretty straightforward. Then you'll be seeing that, so that's wrapped up. So that was February. With that said, more or less kind of give you a recap of the first 3 months of this year. It's been almost overwhelming on my end. It's been very, very busy for the start of 2016. Usually I have a couple winter months to get some winter stuff done. That hasn't been the case this year. Essentially, a good thing for Lisbon, we have 6 new homes under construction right now, which is a wonderful thing. That's probably tripled the permits in the last 3 years combined. So we have a number of new homes going up in Lisbon, which is a great thing, seeing some of those. We got one on Bodenham Road, nice 2-story colonial going up. Got a big house going up on Fairbanks Road. We got one on Ridge Road, and we got one on Old Meadows Road. And then 2 houses were just, of those 6, were just completed on Hinckley Street. So it's nice to see new construction coming in. Went a few years here with just a few, wondering why Sabatis was getting them all. Actually, Sabatis has none going right now, and they're all building in Lisbon. I can't tell you how or why, but that's what's going on. So, with that said, let's see, 4 new mobile homes came in as well, and we got some nice remodel jobs going on. You'll see some of the stuff on 196. Some buildings really needed it, so that's a step in the right direction on getting some of that stuff redone. So Mr. Malloy bought one, I think, town property. You'll see him doing some work on that place, cleaning up the landscaping, driveway, entrance, things like that, and resided the building. Then you got the big apartment on the corner of the school, which is the entrance to our school, so it's nice to see that building getting redone. They're about almost finished with that one. So there's a couple nice remodel jobs that cleaned up some properties on 196, which is nice. And to tell you why I said that, for the start of 16, the planning board, council, and anybody else seemed to want to dump this on me at once, so I'm working on all these issues at one time, which is the Route 196 rezoning, which gets my phone to ringing quite a bit. The Route 9 zoning, which is just starting, but that's going to turn into a lot of questions on my end. You guys heard the demolition of the Warrumble Mill. So needless to say, newspapers and people calling, asking what's going on with that. With that said, we do have that on Thursday night's agenda. We moved it to 6 p.m. Normally, planning board meets at 7. We're going to meet at 6 because the 196 rezoning is at 7, and we didn't want the Warrumble Mill to sit around through all that, because that's probably going to be a fairly lengthy public hearing. So we set it up for 6 o'clock to do a site plan review for the demo of the Warrumble Mill. So if anybody hasn't heard, that's the idea. If everything goes through on Thursday, you're going to see the mill coming down pretty quick. They're already starting.
There's already people in there.
Cleaning the interior contents out, taking some small stuff, structures on the outside. And the idea, if anybody, just general questions right now, Almighty Waste has the contract. They're doing 90% of the work. They're going to use a pulverizer. So the idea is they're actually going to pulverize the concrete into the smallest pieces possible, get what they can in the hole, cover it, grade it, make it look nice, finish it. Anything else gets hauled off. So, have been in contact with DEP. They are as well. There's been concerns if they're following proper procedures on doing this. Yes, they have an environmental company that's working with them, so they're trying to cover all the bases. I've been in touch with DEP myself, so everything's moving forward on that end. So, if everything goes like it should on Thursday, their goal to me is to have it done, finished, and out of there for Moxie.
No kidding.
So that is their goal.
Go.
That's,
Yeah, and the guy doing it, trust me, he can,
Yeah.
he can get it done. They're bringing in the equipment that's gonna get it done the right way, so.
It's just that one building, right? They're not
Correct.
touching those
Just the big Warumbo mill.
Yeah, the white building in the back, and then the blanket mill, well, whatever it is now, used to be the blanket place there.
Belongs to Hydro Dam.
I did approach the fire chief, he left,
Did
so
he
I'll
speak
bring
to
that
that?
up, because there is a siren at the top of the building. No plans on saving it, so if somebody wanted it, they better speak up real quick. I was actually told somebody actually thought it might have been the fire department's siren.
At one point.
Yeah, but it hasn't gone anywhere. Chief doesn't know if it's anything they can really utilize or whatnot, so I'm just throwing it out there for council. There is the big old siren up there. I brought it up to Almighty Waste. His name is Scott. He wasn't real happy because I think he intends on keeping that himself. But the same sense is, trying to think of any artifacts that might be worth some history or historical efforts. If there's any negotiating, I'd be happy to talk with him about it, but just wanted to throw it out there. There was that, and then there was a Rumble sign, the big,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask.
and that's free for the taking. Good luck, because he's not gonna do anything to help that out, because it's 60 feet in the air, and
Yeah.
it's a slab of granite. So how to detach it, how to do it, he's not spending his time and money to try to figure that out, so if somebody really wanted that somehow, they gotta figure out how to get it and get it quick, so.
Know somebody at a crane company?
I do, actually.
You do. Ready, set, go.
I don't know how it's attached. I kinda looked at it from the street. It almost looks like a thin, something that's gotta be fastened, but it could be, when you get up there, it could be a block that was inset in. You just don't know, so.
We'll know till you're standing on it.
Yeah. So outside of that, I don't know if there's anything really of any value that would be historical for the town. Those two items came up in my discussions with him. That's the only thing I've heard. So, at this point, Joe Miller's the one behind the scenes, owns the property, is doing it. And, it's gonna be a big change for Lisbon. We got a lot of
Gotta
things.
change that landscape pretty.
DOT down there, doing what they're gonna do on the intersections, the new bridge, the mill coming down. There's a lot of big changes down there, so hopefully that's gonna spark some interest and clean some things up, and I think it'll be good. So, everybody's asking me what it's gonna be. That's it. It's being torn down, graded, leveled, that's it. I haven't heard of anything from a developers or nothing like that coming in that's looking for, proposing a project. There's nothing on the horizon that way. I talked to Joe, she's gonna fence it off, just security-wise, and that's the way it's gonna stay for now, so. My guess is she'll actively try to market it and sell it, that would make sense, but I haven't heard of any future development plans.
It's not gonna be like a big rubble mess like Grazie's, is it?
Well, no, I think Joe takes some pride in what she wants to leave it as, talking with Almighty Waste. I told him that's a big concern. We've used a couple examples, Swift Demolitions, example of the demo on the United Celotex plant, on things that we don't want to see. We do have a property maintenance ordinance which is coming through, which will be in effect, so even if they did leave a mess, we're going to have something to be able to take care of it anyways. Our ordinance, we had a certain planning board member that had the wherewithal to put in the property management ordinance to not leave an existing footprint, to cover the foundation or grade it over. So I've actually talked to them about it. Thursday night, you'll see they've got a picture showing that it's just, nothing fancy on drawings. They're tearing down a building, so they didn't do anything, elaborate engineered drawings to tear something down. It's a big X, say, building's gone. But they do show the grade and the level they're gonna leave it and cap it over, so it should look nice from what I'm told.
I just don't wanna see it.
Yep,
left like-
especially right there. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what I got.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, very good. Next item, Twyla.
Audience participation and response for new items.
Steve Warren from Lisbon. It's with sadness that I come to speak with you about the recent death of the bicyclist in Lisbon. And it's from the perspective of the role that committees play in the town in furthering the health and safety of the citizens of this town. And where this incident happened was a location that a developer offered, and the committee at the time, the Trails Commission, was very interested in developing an off-road option for bikes and pedestrians at that Kelly Park location. And unfortunately, the town staff did not see the value in that and said they were not interested in it. That's the reason we need citizens to be involved and advocate for these things so that we don't have, it's largely just a hassle for the staff person to be involved in, but there's real value to the community. And so that's the reason that we need to have, whether it be Conservation Commission or Technology Committee or many others that are not actually functioning at this point because the council has not given them the support for them to actually perform the function that they should be doing. So decisions like was presented to you tonight on the technology issue, if you had a functioning technology committee, you would make I think, a much more sound decision than, because there's a lot of misinformation being presented, and you should have citizens functioning on your behalf instead of you trying to handle it all. You don't have enough information to make an informed decision, so you just rubber stamp what's presented to you, and that's unfortunate.
Thank you, Steve. Next item, anybody else? Larry? Okay. Next item, Twyla.
It's under appointments, Order 2016-89, to appoint election clerks, as presented. We do this every 2 years.
Yep. I need a motion?
Ricky, I don't know if I could support that.
Yeah, me either.
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0. Want to do the next one? Appoint.
Why don't we, can we do all of them together?
We can appoint the warden for Ward 1 and 2, Rick Roberts, and appoint the civil constable, Randall Burnham.
Yep.
Okay.
I need a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0. Next item is council
Yep,
communications.
Yep. I was gonna say something to Tracy Austin, but she isn't here tonight, so I will call her and talk to her personally. And, I think everything will be fine, but I wanted to talk to her personally, and so I'll do it that way. Okay, anybody else?
Nothing.
Next item, Twyla.
Okay, the next item is to adjourn to a workshop.
That motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna turn the council over to Eric, because I've been sick and I'm sweating like you wouldn't believe, and I'm going home.
Thank you for asking me.
I miss you, Larry, when you don't talk.
That way it keeps you on your toes, you don't know?
Yeah, I know.
I hope you feel better.
Oh, I will. I'm getting better.
We're gonna just stay right here.
So so the next agenda item is Parks and Rec for the workshop for budget discussion.
You're up, sir. You're up, Mark.
Sure can.
Sure. He just said he was sick, man. Are you thinking that through?
I have a granddaughter who's been sick 3 days and I haven't got it yet. I'm not gonna get it.
Plenty of water.
You better knock on some wood.
Hey, you remember that when you wake up tomorrow, say.
Yeah.
Jeff, it's good on you, buddy.
Yeah. It's better than standing, I think. I think with parks first. Account number 5101, directors, managers, represents my salary for the parks.
Parks.
$10,608.
Hold on a minute. Finger my way through it. There we are. Parks.
My plan is to just go through the account numbers and line by line and go through them. And if you have any questions, please interrupt me because I'll probably just go down through them pretty quickly. I'm not going to cover the FICA retirement unless Diane wants to
No.
chime in.
We're good.
The 5110 line wages is for our regular employees versus our temporary wages. 5112 is our seasonal and part-time.
Do those two flip budget-wise?
Pardon?
One went up, one went down. Is that what
Yeah,
same as the last week?
What we did was we moved the true temporary wages into the temporary line, so everything that's under wages are the people that work year-round.
Okay, that's what I
So
assumed.
we've done that in other departments too. You'll see that
Yep.
throughout this.
And then the next line is 5140, which is uniforms and safety equipment, and basically that hasn't changed in the last couple of years.
Could you speak up? We can't hear you.
Pull the mic towards you more.
Oh, I didn't know the mic was even on. Okay. The 5140 account is $500. The 5275 telephone is basically the telephone for the park. We kept the telephone there at the park. We didn't want to lose that number. 5300 is for diesel for the park equipment, Kubota tractor. 5305 is gasoline for all the mowers and park truck. 5320 is repair and maintenance for mowing. It's $2,200. 5330 is repair and maintenance for trails. You'll see an increase here. It's not a substantial increase, but it's $1,400. I feel like that we didn't increase anything last year when we got the Androscoggin River Trail. It's a newer trail. There's always ongoing maintenance, repair of drainage and things like that. So I needed to add some. We already know that we need to do some work on the Miller Trail from a washout from last fall. The 5345 account, repair and maintenance of equipment, the increase in that line is our desire is to purchase a new plow blade for the park truck. The current one has snowball-sized holes and rust holes in it that I think it's this last year. Yeah, but in addition to that, that 5345 account, there was some language in there that we were going to purchase a new trailer, and we did that recently. And so with that, I would like to propose that we reduce that line from 9228 by an amount of $1,128, which would make it, what, 8,100 even.
I'll do all the changes through the departments at once we get through all the budgets, because there's going to be some several changes.
The 5375 account for supplies is just for office supplies, paper, and 5379 Green Thumb Gang. That's an amount that we haven't changed from last year, $44.50, and our supply line also stayed the same, 5380, with an amount of $2,700 for a total of $103,798, with the exception of the 1128 reduction in that one repair and maintenance line.
guess my general overall question, looking at your repairs and maintenance lines, Mark, just for an understanding. You have all your spring work, which is why the balances in the accounts hasn't caught up at this point, so.
Exactly.
you
I was
looked
going
at
to talk
every-
about that.
You know, so if somebody were looking at your budget right now, that looks like it's disproportionate, but it's because a lot of that stuff's gonna be done by June 30th to set things in motion.
Because the fiscal year starts July 1st, we have May, June, and all of May and June to get work done.
Now, using the PW example, hearing Ryan play that out tonight with his, is there anything for slack within your departments that could be deferred from next year's budget to be covered in this year, in that same vein?
Slack?
Well, something that's budgeted as an increase next year that can be paid for with funds this year,
Like your plow.
like your plow.
Is there anything that you need that you could accomplish this year using this year's?
I would have to dig into that and check into that. That's something I
I
can.
would give you that discretion. Get back to us, the SOSA, because
I
the
would like
intention
to-
here is not to
Right.
budget something next year if we can pay for it this year, if we could use that same logic. And in that, I would open that envelope between Parks and Recreation now that it's under the same director to say, okay, between those two, can we do that? Because, again, using that perfect example of the $3,000 plow, I don't care really so much where the funding comes from. Is it reasonable to get it done so we're not paying for it next year?
That latitude will allow between those two departments to be able
Right.
to make those sort of things happen. Same way we need to move the trailer.
Sure, you're right. Exactly. Yep.
We'll look at that, and then we'll come back to a regular council meeting with a
Right,
proposal for
exactly.
you.
Much like we did tonight. Much like we did
Yeah,
tonight. So
but it
something we
might
can
be-
act on.
We may have to wait another month
That's
just to
fine.
make sure he's got enough in there. Because he really, I mean, you look at these two budgets, there's not a whole lot of money in
Right.
the budgets. Most of it's in wages
Wages,
or as
right.
programs. So, yeah.
And
we'll look
I
at
would
it.
love to give him the time to be able to come back with that, because I know he's got a real deadline for what he needs to get done for everything for spring that has to be done by June 30th,
Yeah.
which is why it looks like he has a lot of funds, but it is not the case when June passes and everything he needs to get taken care of.
Yeah. Wages would be the.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be it. I mean, just a general caveat.
Anybody else have any questions?
Under the 5345, it says an air rake for 2,700. Is that something that you're looking to purchase?
That's something that we maintain.
Oh, you maintain
That's
it.
part
Okay.
of the maintenance for that piece of equipment.
Okay.
We can move on to Rexer anytime you want.
That's it. All right, thank you. Okay, the recreation budget. The 5101 line is my salary, which includes a 2%. The 5110 line, again, we made some changes. We put the regular employees that were working year-round. They were not seasonal, they were not temporary. We put them all in the wage lines. And the ones that were in the wage lines that were only working for certain times in the summertime or in the fall, we put them on temporary wages, so you saw some adjustments there. Our temporary wages are for seasonal and temporary employees. The mileage, 5120, $400, that hasn't changed. Professional development hasn't changed, 5121. The advertising at 5201, that's $500, that has not changed. That's still $500, and cell phones will remain the same unless we decide to make some changes with the cell phones between now and July. The electricity bill is the electricity 5220 line is the same as it has been last year. The general liability is the one that may also make a change this year with the Recreation Department events, special events at Moxie going under the Moxie Committee. but we're not 100% sure about that, and that's something we need to research. The officials line has not changed. It's still $3,800. Postage and 5256 is $300. Rental of space is basically renting the YWCA for swimming lessons. That has not changed. Security system, $5270, $360 has not changed. $5272 sewer has not changed. $5275 telephone is the same. $5277 trash removal is the same. $5290 water is the same. Diesel, gas is the same. Repair and maintenance of rec. Okay, that's facilities. The increase in the 5325 line is represents we're resurfacing the tennis courts on both courts. I've gotten 2 bids right now. They're right around $6,500 from 2 different organizations, and that's something that probably needed to be done 2 or 3 years ago. Resurfacing those courts is really important in the overall maintenance and overall longevity of those courts. They're well used by the school and the town, and to resurface them, they're pretty much going to make them brand new again. They're going to recoat them, 3 layers of coat, and then they're going to reline them, and we're going to be adding some pickleball lines, which is a little bit, it's a trend that the senior citizens are doing now for our sport, that it's not going to be just for tennis, it'll be for pickleball as well. So we're hoping that that gets approved.
They have the net at MTM. Come see it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
He had to explain the sport to me, but it's cool.
It's popular. I mean, Brunswick, Auburn have leagues, and we just have, right now, we have people coming in playing recreationally, but in Lewiston, Auburn, Brunswick, it's pretty competitive.
What's it called again?
It's called pickleball.
The net's only this tall. It's perfect.
Tell me Yeah, it's you're welcome to come and play any time during the week between 9 and 11 at MTM. I'm undefeated, so you guys have good luck. I'm just kidding.
Rumor has it he's competitive as hell too. On that same thing, if we could do the tennis court work, if we could find that $6,500, I'd love to do that this year to actually get the effect out of it before the season gets away from us. You know, so along the same lines as the plow, if we could do that this year, that'd be great.
Okay.
And the answer is, if it's no, it's no.
Right.
But at least
I think what you said before, which is you gotta go through these budgets.
We
and
do,
find what's available,
yeah.
and then from there you can kind of say, well, we have 2,500, which isn't gonna get the courts done, but it'll get the plow done, and maybe some other things.
Right.
we can target. So
Yep. Yep. Good. Very good. 5345 is repair and maintenance equipment. That is repair and maintenance of our fitness equipment and also reconditioning of our football helmets. That's the same. Repair and maintenance of vehicle, that's gone up a little bit. Truck's getting a little bit older. Still in great shape. It doesn't get beat too bad, but there are some power steering issues that needed to be taken care of this year, and I'm not sure if, I mean, right now it's in pretty good shape, but I don't have a crystal ball, and I think $1,000 is reasonable to keep that thing on the road. The 5380 line has gone up, and basically their rationale behind a couple $1,000s is because our programs have grown, and just an example of our summer day camps, we have nearly 300 kids in our summer day camps. Each one of them, I mean, the program pays for itself, but each one of them get a $6 T-shirt. So if our program goes up by 50, there's a considerable amount of money just for the T-shirt that they wear every day.
your programs, I mean, the last few line items, the expenditures have gone up, but at the same time, you're going to have a revenue stream that's going to be offsetting that.
That was exactly what I was going to say. I was just going to tell you that with the new programs, the next line item is 5672, and yes, it's doubled. But basically, what we did was we budgeted the Winter Festival, and we brought in a little over $4,000. We spent around $38,500. So it's a kind of wash, but Same with summer trips, the Sunshine Hill and senior meals, and also co-ed softball. Money comes in, it goes into the revenue lines, but we spend what we bring in.
The Winter Carnival was year one, too, so
That was our first year, yeah.
I mean, I think that's safe to say, probably won't double, but I think it'll increase every year, what you're seeing in participation.
Mm-hmm.
You got lucky with the 1 week of winter we had.
We did get lucky. We were considering.
That was perfect for what you were trying to accomplish.
We were considering postponing it because we had no snow.
Yeah.
And she was going to Alaska for 10 days or a week or so, and we weren't going to do it either, so we were going to postpone it till the end of February. Yeah. Then there was no snow in February, so
All worked out.
it did. And
He had
that's
one. He had his. Well, nobody beat him. Like I said, he's competitive.
Yeah. Can't help that. That's the total budget of $434,275. Anybody have any questions?
No, thank you.
Keep up the good work, Mark.
What we may do, like on the
Very much.
plow,
And
is
Sherry.
maybe come back and get permission to purchase that only if we have money left in these two budgets. And it might be at the final hour that we make that purchase, knowing what might be left in the wage lines, especially the part-time.
That's cool. I mean, we'll get a hell of a deal
I
on
think
buying one
that's
in June.
really the only place you're gonna find it if we have any.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
And that the intention here
That
is
might be the best way for these two budgets, because he doesn't have a whole lot of wiggle room.
Right.
Other than the part-time wages.
right.
Mark, you didn't shine a light on it, but I think it's important that we do that, 5689 senior meals, providing senior meals help for Fridays throughout the year. I think it's important to mention that, because when people think Parks and Rec, they usually tend to think of focus on the kids and the young folks, and I know that our Parks and Rec have done a great job to make sure there are a lot of senior trips, and a lot of focus on both ends of the spectrum.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to focus that on.
We have a group of 30 in Savannah, Georgia right now. So
This really is.
we always got something going on.
It's breakfast one week and lunch the following,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Larry? Nothing?
He's ready to leave. It's twice in one night.
You're really making me nervous. You're having a
Adjourn.
Here's the department
Eric?
that is outstanding.
make a motion to
because
adjourn.
all of their programs
I'll second.
pay for themselves,
Right.
All those in favor?
okay?
Raise your hand.
So,
Order pass 7-0.
not a lot of
There's no Roger.
you can
Oh,
do
yeah,
with
yeah,
this
yeah,
bucket.
thanks.
You know, my wife just saw you hit me on camera, right?
I mean, Mark, that's an outstanding job.
But you haven't said anything the last few
Yeah,
meetings.
I was just wondering who took Larry. That was where I was going.
I mean, when I think.
I had a small, mine was.
No,
The other.
It's still nice to hear it, though. I mean,